So South Africa take on India in the second ODI after winning the first one by the barest of margins, by 9 runs, I think it was, if I can remember correctly. And they're going into the second ODI with confidence, hopefully. But it's an opportunity for South Africa to just remain calm and try to keep the momentum going. Because ultimately, you don't want to be taking your foot off the pedal right now at this particular time, given that there's a World Cup on the way around the corner. I know it's in a different format, but like I said, this particular ODI series is supposed to be very good to get minutes under the belt, etc. So let's talk about the next ODI. Let's talk about the game that will be happening on Sunday. Let's talk about who we would like to see play. And let's maybe touch on some of the things that we learned from the first ODI. But before we get going, if this is the first time that you're here and you're new here, please subscribe and click that notification bell for all future videos, please. Also, don't forget to download the latest issue of Cricket Fanatics magazine monthly. Every issue is 100% free, straight to your inbox every month. The link is on the screen as well as in the description. This month, we're going to be combining the 2 months to create a nice World Cup edition for you guys, so that you guys can get yourself prepared for the World Cup and see what some people have to say heading into this tournament. It's something that you can learn from in the future too, because I try to make these magazines in a way so that you can go back and see what was said and see if any of the things that was said came true, or see the thinking behind things and if you saw that on the pitch ultimately. So what you've heard in the mag and what they've said in the magazine, you can actually see it in real life. So please subscribe. It's very, very knowledgeable for all of you guys. It's something that you guys can learn a lot from. Also, if you want to help us actively grow South African cricket, promote South African cricket, etc., we have a Patreon account. So please get in charge of the Patreon account. Go ahead and click on the link is on the screen as well as in the description. So go and click it in the description. I also have my PayPal account is attached into the link as well at the bottom as well, if you want to do it that way too. It's a little bit more personal that way, I guess. And if you want to get regular updates, go to cricketfanaticsmag.com for all your regular updates. We have previews, reviews, match reports, as well as features, which is our main thing. We like to tell stories about cricketers and tell their stories and their struggles and speak about it so that we can educate the rest of the public and other cricketers. And maybe that knowledge will be able to help them and prevent them from making the same mistakes, maybe as others made before them. So please go ahead and follow us on cricketfanaticsmag.com as well for all regular updates. Let's get straight into today's video. Looking forward to discussing this with you guys. Gonna be an exciting game for some and nerve-wracking for others. A very good evening and welcome to Cricket Fanatics Magazine. This is your preview show. I'm your host Khalid and this is the show where we talk about everything that has to do with the second ODI between South Africa and India. So, what's going to be taking place? First and foremost, we need to talk about the ground. I think that's the first place we need to start with. Now, this will obviously be playing in Ranchi. And I went and looked at some of the ODI fixtures for you guys to see what has taken place there. There hasn't been really many games being played there. As you can see over here on the top, here are the games that have been played when India has been involved in obviously all of them. And as you can see, it's been a mixed bag of winners. The last game played over there in 2019, ODI Australia won by 32 runs. If you look at the scores scored over there, obviously that last game over there, 313 for 5. But generally speaking, it's been quite a mixed bag, and there's not really many games for us to pick apart when it comes to this particular ground. But what it does say is that it's not a 400 ground necessarily or 350. It does seem to be a ground that if you get around 300, you can possibly win this match, or 280 between 300, dependable obviously on what everything that's happening over there. With regards to the weather, I had a quick look. It looks like an amazing day for cricket. Um, the weather wise, it said 29 degrees, I think, something like that, and it's sunny. There was no rain. So um, that's going to be a good thing for the cricket, of course, and for us, but not for anybody that's trying to get out of a match. But it's 29 degrees on Sunday. It, it looks that's the high, of course, and that's around about the time when the game is being played. So the highest temperatures are going to be throughout the day that the match is being played. So we don't really necessarily have to worry about that. Let me see if I can give you guys a quick screenshot and bring it on the screen so that you guys can have a look at what I'm talking about, because maybe I'm not reading this correctly. Uh, Sometimes when you have a long ass week, you can make mistakes. And that's what you guys are here for. Um, so on Sunday, let's take that quickly. We've got it about there. Takes a little while, guys. And up there. So this is today. Let me start with today first. Um, it has been raining a little bit. It's going to be raining before on Saturday. So that might affect what's going to be happening on Sunday. So the pitch is going to be covered, but the outfield might be wet. It might rain overnight, etc. So that might be a little bit of an issue with regards to that. But Friday and Sunday are completely sunny days. Now, Sunday is what we're talking about right here. And the temperatures look brilliant. As I said, 29, 27, 28, around about the time that we're playing. The weather looks pretty decent. So we can expect a full game. But as you know, with the weather, you never know. So let's just wait and see. But ultimately, it seems like there's no rain expected on Sunday, and that we're going to have a full match. So let's start to talk about tactics and what we want to see in the game itself with regards to selection. I still, you see, before the first match, I was under the impression, not the impression, I felt that I would have liked to see Riza Hendricks get an opportunity to play. And I felt that Temba Bavuma should have been, or either Temba, which we knew wasn't going to happen, but if not Temba, then Aiden gets a chance on the sidelines. And my thought process for that was Aiden Markram is currently the most informed, or one of the most informed T20 batters that we currently have in our team. In the T20 format, he is full of confidence. You can see by the way he plays. He walks out to the middle and he already feels, you can just see the energy around him is different. There's a sense of nervousness when you see him walk out to the middle in ODIs. Now, if the ODIs were before the T20s, then I could understand Aiden Markram playing. Even though if he takes the risk, tries to get back in form in ODIs and doesn't work, he can at least use the T20s to get his confidence back. What I'm afraid of that if he doesn't make things work or doesn't get runs in the ODIs, that it might affect his confidence and his mentality again. And that's my big problem, because ultimately he's keeping out a player like Riza Hendricks, for example, that could possibly come into the middle order or at the top of the order. So that is my concern about this particular choice of changing it now. Now that he has got an a duck and hasn't performed in the first ODI, I kind of feel that he has to play in the next match to try and get his confidence back up again. So it makes me feel confused about how they're going to deal with this. They can be ruthless and look at this and say, "Look here, Aiden, we gave you one chance. It's now time for Riza, and drop him and then play Riza." Ultimately, you would want to see maybe someone, but in a lot of people might, or some people might say Temba, but Temba's good in ODI cricket currently. So he has a very good record in ODI cricket. So yeah, I don't think he's earned a right to be dropped in ODIs. Maybe in T20s we can talk about it, and I think we've all spoken about it that he needs to be dropped in T20s for Riza. But currently, if you're going to drop anybody for Riza right now in this team, I can only think about Markram. If you look at Markram's overall stats in ODI cricket compared to Riza Hendricks, though, Riza Hendricks is worse. I went to go check the stats. But when you look at current form in 50 over cricket, Riza Hendricks is more in form. And that's got to do with domestic cricket as well as international cricket. If you look at the recent stats, I'm talking about in the last year or so. So, so when it comes to this particular game, I want to pick the best team as well. So massive blow as well that Dwayne Pretorius isn't playing. And I think Dwayne is also he's more effective, I think, in T20 cricket than ODI cricket for us. I think he's more deadly in T20 cricket. I think he's a lot more dangerous in T20 cricket. So yes, it's a blow for the World Cup, definitely for the T20 World Cup. But I don't think such a massive blow for ODIs necessarily. I think we've got a young speedster coming through in Marco Janssen that can come and replace him within the team. And you could perhaps see Parnell then as to move up one then, which a lot of you guys maybe don't like. Or Janssen can bat at 7. I mean, he's shown his credentials that he can do it. He's shown his ability that he can do it. So it's interesting to maybe see that. But yeah, certain things there's no need for. Like, for example, Shamsi. There's no need to necessarily playing him ODI cricket, I feel. I know a lot of people, I know that he's supporters, and I'm a big supporter of him, I'm a big fan of his. And I just don't think that ODI cricket is going to do him good going into the World Cup, because into a T20 World Cup, he needs to keep his lines tight. He needs to make sure that he's in the zone, that he's deadly whenever he plays. That's what we need from Shamsi. And I think that ODI is going to dent his confidence a little bit, because he has a lot more overs to work with. He has a lot more opportunity to get it wrong. But then again, you could also look at that challenge as something to fine tune him even further. So it could work either way, I guess, if you play him or if you don't. Um, what happens if you don't play him? Well, if you don't play him, then you could perhaps play an extra seamer in Anik Nokia and maybe not have the second spinner. But that particular ground in the last game, it looked like it was something for spin. Now, it's a pity that I don't have anybody on here with me right now to be able to give me insight into the Ranchi ground. From what I've seen, when I look at the top scores on the ground, there's only been 4 centuries on this ground. And all of the strike rates were below 130. Even with Kawaja scoring his 100 in a strike rate of 92. That is still relatively fast, though, for ODI cricket. I know a lot of people want to see 150s and 160s, but in ODI cricket, to get a century and score it at that rate, I think that's pretty decent. And it seems like players have gotten some luck. Batters specifically have gotten quite a bit of luck on this particular ground. Not really much, I would say. There's a lot of 30s being scored on this ground, a lot of 30s and 20s, way more than half centuries and above. So that is maybe an indication of what type of ground we're playing on. When I look at the bowlers and I look at some of the wickets being taken, there's never been a fifer taken on this ground. The highest is 4 wickets by Mendes. And Jadeja took 3, and then there's a lot of 3s. But it looks, when I look at this particular list of wicket takers, it's been a mix. Pat Cummins is on this list, Richardson's on this list, Saudi, Shami, Yadav, Zampa. So it's a mixture of like different types of bowlers. So what this pitch is going to give us, what the conditions are going to present to us, I'm not really sure for ODI cricket right now. So it's going to be interesting to see what the conditions are going to hold for this team and what they're going to play regards to that. I've spoken about selection, and I've said what I think should happen. But we're going to have to wait and see and just support whoever gets picked. And it's so hard for me to pick between players, because there's no player in this in the squad that I don't like. I mean, there's none of them that I've had a bad. None of the players that are in this current squad have I had a bad interaction with. I've had good relationships with them. I've had good conversations, interviews with them. If it's not more than one interview, then only if it's only been one, it's been a good one. So I've never really had issues with any of the players in this particular squad. I'm not going to speak about others from past or other squads, but this particular squad, there's been no one that I've really had a bad incident with. So I don't feel very happy sitting here saying that this play doesn't shouldn't be selected or this player should be selected over someone else. It pains me to say it every single time. But unfortunately, that's the cruelty of sport because you can only pick 11 players and someone has to miss out, unfortunately, as a result. So that's just the nature of sport, and that's what we have to deal with. Let me get into some of the live chat comments to see what you guys have to say. Khalid, don't you just think Timber needs to break just for his own sanity and rest um, and reset? Sorry, we still have 2 warm-up games before the World Cup. That might be the right thing for his sanity too. But one good knock for him can change his form right around. So is it worthwhile risking that? Well, we're desperate to get him on form again, and he hasn't really played much cricket. The only way he can is by playing the 50 over format really right now. So I guess I'll take the risk. Sean van Berg, a leggy replacement in ODIs for Shamsi. Nah, um, I don't understand why people don't like Shamsi. I know understand yesterday, and I do know that he seemed to be trying a couple of things too. And when a bowler is targeted, he's targeted. So maybe in ODI cricket, we can talk about ODI cricket. There's Bjorn Fortuin, and there's so many others that are doing well in ODI cricket that are coming through the system. It's the only team playing ODI. Even India main team didn't want to play the series. Yeah, that's crazy. But we need the Super League points, unfortunately. Where else are we going to fit it in with everything that's happening? You know, it's one of the busiest South African summers I'm ever going to experience. It's insane the amount of tournaments and things that I'm going to have to cover. It's the Proteas, England coming down. It's the SA20. It's the Women's World Cup, T20 World Cup. It's the Under 19 Women's World Cup. It's the CSA T20 knockout. It's a CSA T20 challenge. All of this is happening almost simultaneously. The domestic season with all these internationals. I'm not going to sleep, guys. I'm just going to tell you guys now. So if you see me on some streams at 7 o'clock and I'm all looking like a zombie, you understand I've only slept like 2-3 hours a day in that period. At the moment, I just think Temba is burning himself out mentally, and that can't be good. Justin, FX points are necessary for the World Cup. Shows how bad SA has been in ODI. Then they say Bavuma is a great captain. Agreed, Temba is a very good ODI cricketer. I really rate him in this format. I do too. Linda, you see, before he could approach the T20 game with this mentality, this ODI mentality, a couple of years ago, when I was pushing for when he was selected initially in the T20 side, and I was saying, you know what, we need someone like him that can really support Quinton de Kock, bat through the order, and value his wicket, etc. That was great for a couple of years ago. But now, since I've seen and been more exposed to the other countries and what they have in their opening spots, it terrifies me. So right now, we don't need a player like that. We need 2 players that can really get us at an advantage in the power play. The best strategy for South Africa is to lay a foundation for that world-class middle to bottom order. Set them free. Take the shackles off and let them go out and just play with freedom. That is the game plan for South Africa, because whatever target we put on the board, I feel our bowlers can defend. As long as it's over 150, please. Linda for Shamsi, finger spinner have better control than wrist spinners, but wrist spinners have this amazing magic about them where they can take wickets at any time. So with the bowling attack we have, throwing Shamsi into that mix as a secret weapon, I think it's a perfect balance. Shamsi hasn't really been very good in ODIs. People mixed his T20 performance with ODI. Fakazaman took him apart last year too. Yes, in ODIs he struggled. That's why I said it was a bit strange that they are playing him in the ODIs, knowing that he needs to maintain his confidence and keep things compact. But perhaps they've given him instructions to try a couple of things that might help him in his T20 game. What matters with Shamsi is that when it matters, he always performs. When there's crunch times, I've always seen him perform in knockout finals, in massive matches where they need to win. He's come to the party. So I trust in Shamsi. I'm hoping that the bowling coach and maybe his spinning coach has had conversations with him and told him some tips that he can maybe try and use in these games in India, so that he can add it to his game and maybe can help him tighten some other things that is maybe a little bit loose in his game for the T20 game. Perhaps they can mix it too and help him out in that way. Maybe these games can. But at the moment in ODI cricket, I think that Bjorn and Keshav is ahead of Shamsi, in my opinion. It doesn't mean that I'm right, but that's my opinion currently. Khalid, is England and SA ODIs going to be between SA20 knockouts? Yeah, so the England ODIs will be between that periods. It's going to be a little bit of an issue. I don't know how we're going to do that and manage all of that at once. Bro, to give a chance, Klassen in test also. I don't think it's necessary at the moment to add Klassen to the test arena right now. That's another guy that is fresh and new that you want to add to the test team. We already have so many guys. I would like to create a solid foundation in that team, like an experienced top order, and then build a young team around them. Um, so we need to solidify that top order. I know Sarel's currently playing with Alga at the moment, but that doesn't necessarily give me full confidence quite yet. I think they still have some time to maybe prove me wrong and prove some people that they can make that partnership their own as a pair. But they haven't necessarily shown as a pair. They've shown individually that they can do it on their own, but they haven't necessarily shown it as a pair that can build innings and set up a team. And that's what we're looking for in all our formats currently. Who is Pretoria's replacement in the World Cup? It could be Marco Jansen. It could be Andile Pechelquayo. We don't know where Vian Mulder is standing with regards to the current setup. But that can be the options currently, I think. Those are the most realistic options, I think, when we're looking at it. Why no international fixtures at Cape Town? So the reason is because the Women's World Cup is in Cape Town. So we getting the Women's World Cup in Cape Town, and they're playing at Newlands Stadium. So Newlands, Boland Park, and I think as well St George's Park in PE. I think those are the three grounds. Because South Africa is obviously hosting the Women's World Cup. Why don't they use a six bowler? They should. They should if they have it. I mean, the whole point also was of persisting with Markram was also to get that through his bad form. I mean, is because of the bowling aspect, to add a couple of overs as well. I can already see Brevis debut against England next year. Possibility, highly possible that could happen. We also can see some of the other guys from the under 19s show games previously, and under 19 teams, previous under 19 teams, as well as the current under 19, like George van Heerden. He recently won the Varsity Cup. So interesting to see that those players are also performing in cricket somewhere, and they're continuing playing. They're not stopping for anything. We can't afford to start slowly in the World Cup this time. No, we can't. Every game needs to be a victory. That's how we win that World Cup. We need to make sure that that our heads are screwed on right, that there's no interferences, etc., going into this World Cup. There needs to be a collectiveness, a togetherness. That's how we're going to win it. We have a very talented squad, very good, lethal group of players that really do have the potential to at least make it to the semi-finals. So I just hope that they play to their potential and they show us that they can do it. Guys, that's all I have for you today. Thanks a lot for tuning in. I know it's a Friday evening and you guys want to go out and have some fun and enjoy your evening. So please do so. Relax. Put your feet up and enjoy your evening and enjoy your weekend. I'll see you guys again back on Sunday after the game. Hopefully South Africa are at the end of a victory. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Don't forget to download the latest issue of Cricket Fanatics Magazine monthly. Don't forget to become a patron, please. Don't forget to go to cricketfanaticsmag.com for all future updates. Thanks a lot, everybody, for tuning in and spending your time, your evening with me, a little bit of your evening at least with me. And I'll see you guys again on Sunday evening. Take out. Peace.